Hey guys, welcome to our channel. This is Parimla, professor in Velala College of Education. Now we are going to see about methods of psychology. What is psychology? Psychology is nothing but study of human behavior and mental process. It's a social science that examines people's thought, feelings and behaviors using various approaches to evaluation. Experimental and clinical psychologists use various research methods in psychology to develop therapy treatment plans, set outcome goals, and apply behavioral strategies. So, from this article, we explore who uses research in psychology and 10 research methods in psychology to better evaluate your mental health patients. So, now we are going to see about methods of psychology. They are observation method, experimental method or experimental observation, psychological experiment, variables, independent, dependent and intervening, control, the case study method, survey method. Now let us see in detail about observation method. The basic method of psychology is observation method. Early psychologists try to explain and study behavior by just observing the behavior and activities of organisms. So on the basis of their observation, they try to find explanations. This type of observation is called natural observation or non-controlled observation. This term means that the observation was made in natural setting and when the behavior occurred. On the basis of repeated observation, the psychologist attempted to formulate general laws and principles. So as each method will have its pros and cons, so likewise this method also has its advantage as well as disadvantages. So now let us see the advantages of this method. It is very easy to collect data and no special arrangements or gadgets are necessary for this kind of method. So by observing behavior in natural situations, we are really observing behavior in life situations. If the aim of psychology is to understand and predict behavior in real life, then the natural thing to do will be to study behavior in life situations. So there are some of the disadvantages also. Let's see. So it is not possible to observe all type of behavior in a natural setting. Some aspects of behavior are implicit and not open to observation. Feelings and other internal process cannot be observed. So it is difficult to convert data from natural observation into quantitative terms. Different observers observing the same behavior may conclude differently. So these are the disadvantages of this method. Now we are going to see about experimental method or experimental observation. As indicated just above, an experiment is a procedure by which certain conditions, events, etc. occur in nature are artificially created and reproduced in the laboratory. So the chemist who studies the effect of heat on a chemical in the laboratory is actually creating and reproducing a phenomenon that can be expected to occur in nature under certain circumstances. So this is experimental method or experimental observation. So next one is psychological experiment. So most lay persons and perhaps even beginners in psychology often wonder what a psychology experiment can be like. So they are even baffled that the psychologist claims to be an experimental scientist. So the next one is variables, independent, dependent and intervening. The term variable means which can be varied or changed, which changes or varies itself. Let us go back again to the chemistry student with his experiment. Here when the heat is applied, the nature, color, properties of the material changes. The stimulus is changed and the response change. The former represents one type and later another type of variable. So the first variable can be changed by the experimenter and is deliberately and systematically varied to find out how this is accompanied by changes in the second set of variables. Thus, the variation of the one is known and the other is unknown, but the variation of the second variable is known to follow changes in the first variable. So, there is no such definite relationship in the reverse direction. We now go to define the two variables, that is independent and dependent. The independent variable is the one which is systematically and independently varied by the experimenter, while the dependent variable is the change he expects to occur as a result of the changes he has produced in the independent variable. So this example may make this point clear to the student. So now let us see about control method. A chemist, before he arrives at a conclusion about the property of a chemical, he repeats the observation a number of times. So the psychologist also has to do the same. He has to make repeated observation on the same individual and also on different individuals before arriving at a conclusion. Next is experimental and control groups. So the psychologist uses groups of subject. This is necessary for the reason through the need in any scientific experiment to make repeated observation. These repeated observation can be made into two ways. One method is by carrying out the experiment on the same individual many times. Hypothesis. We will discuss the term which is very frequently used in experimental psychology. The main aim in any experiment is to study the effect of some stimulus or condition on some response or behavior. So that is, an attempt is made to study the relationship between an independent variable and a dependent variable. Now we are going to see the last method, that is survey method. Another major method employed in psychology is the survey method. This method is commonly employed in social psychology, though other branches of psychology also employ it. The survey method is employed whenever we are interested in knowing how a particular behavior is distributed among a group of people. This is all about survey method. Thank you supporters for listening and have a great day.